On the southern side of the Alps, just 3.5 hours' drive from Basel, lies Ticino, the Swiss enclave on the border with Italy. From palm trees to glaciers, Ticino embraces shapes and colors across a broad spectrum. Like a mighty wall, the Alps hold back the cold from the north. As a result, the climate to the south is almost Mediterranean. Especially here at Lake Maggiore. While other parts of Ticino are still covered by a thick blanket of snow, around Lake Maggiore, spring is already in full swing. It's a season for all the senses. Blossoms are out in a dizzying array of colors, and various species of camellia exude their bewitching scent. The magnolias are also in full bloom. These are among the world's oldest plants, living fossils that have flowered since the Cretaceous period. And although they have no nectar, they do have nourishing pollen, a sweet attraction for bees that harvest it diligently in its labyrinthine pistils. Lake Maggiore. Only 1/5 of the lake belongs to Switzerland, the rest lies in Italy. Ticino only has federal law, the Swiss franc, and prices in common with Switzerland. Everything else is Italian: language, food, culture, and temperament. Over the past few decades, proximity to La Dolce Vita and a Mediterranean climate have attracted money to the once extremely poor canton. Lavish villas bear witness to the wealth that has migrated to the tourist centers of Ascona and Locarno. The rule is, the closer to the water, the more luxurious the location. Not everyone can afford direct access to the water. If you're a human being, that is. Not far from the grandeur and luxury, unspoiled nature awaits. The Bolle di Magadino, a large conservation area. Here, the Ticino and Versasca rivers flow into Lake Maggiore. The marshlands are an important habitat for animals. The combination of water and land is ideal for amphibians and reptiles. The harmless dice snake swims and hunts in the water. They like sunny spots, the river Kuta. These exotic specimens are unintentional residents. Freed illegally into the wild, they're now driving out the native pond terrapins. The Bolle di Magadino is above all a bird paradise for both migratory birds or residents such as the goosander and the great crested grebe. Around 300 different species have been sighted here. The swamplands are especially busy in the mating season. Turf wars and nest building are the order of the day. The great crested grebes are constructing their floating nests. Many are anchored in the water, others are attached to tree trunks. Nest building is teamwork. During the breeding season, grebes are monogamous, and the couples work together hand in hand, or beak to beak. Branches form the nest's mainstay. Algae and leaves provide comfortable padding for the eggs. But offspring doesn't happen on its own. Among the mallard ducks, mating is already in full swing. As often happens in the animal world, things can get a bit rough. Some ducks have actually drowned while mating. The grebes are more elegant, starting with the courtship. This follows an elaborately choreographed ritual. The head shaking and plumage pecking are just the overture. First, they must establish the right harmony. In the second act, there's the handing over of bridal gifts. If they're accepted, the couple can finally begin to dance. Should the courtship have the desired successful outcome, the act itself is similarly civilized. The nest serves as a comfortable mating platform. As evening approaches, calm descends on the Bolle di Magadino once again, a calm in which the presence of humans can almost be forgotten. But at night, with lights reflecting in Lake Maggiore, it's clear how densely populated it is. Countless hotels dot the banks, space that's needed when the tourists arrive en masse in high season. Geographically, Lake Maggiore marks the lowest lying and nearly southernmost tip of Switzerland. In the middle of the lake, there's a floating paradise, the Brissago Islands. The surrounding water stores the sun's warmth and releases it in winter, resulting in predominantly subtropical conditions almost all year round. The large botanical garden on the main island uses this to full advantage. Observant visitors might even catch a glimpse of some wild animals. A sea of rhododendron blossoms is this lizard's hunting grounds. It can only spot its prey when it moves. But once in the hunter's sights, there's no escape for the victim. Flies, spiders or caterpillars are its main diet, and they're found here in abundance. It's hard to imagine today, but at the beginning of the last century, Ticino was regularly gripped by famine. Being so isolated meant that industrialization and tourism simply never reached it. The barren soil made it unsuitable for agriculture. The valleys in the hinterland were especially poverty-stricken. Ticino's real treasure has always lain in its beautiful landscape. Just 50 kilometers away from Locarno, the Maggia Valley is a fine example. The Maggia drains most of the Ticino Alps. On its way to Lake Maggiore, it transports huge volumes of water, as well as gravel and sand. Natural sandpaper that accentuates the individual patterns, grooves and ridges of the rocks. The Maggia Valley is the largest meadow landscape in Ticino. Wide gravel banks and floodplain forests create a rich biotope. All 4 types of lizard native to Switzerland are found here in Ticino. The most common is the wall lizard, which is a past master at camouflage. The iridescent emerald lizard is far more striking. It's the largest indigenous lizard and is especially happy in Ticino's warm climate. Like all reptiles, lizards cannot regulate their own body temperature. They must regularly warm themselves up in the sun. Sun-warmed stones are their favorite, and there are plenty of them near the river. Countless insects live on the water too, so there's plenty of food. Something that attracts the wagtail as well. It's a true aerial acrobat. No insect is safe from a wagtail, and it needs a lot of them, as its hungry young are waiting in their nest. This young wagtail's plumage is still brown. It's already fledged, but must still learn the right hunting technique. The adult birds demonstrate how to do it, and how one can never stuff one's beak too full. On hot days, the turquoise waters tempt many people to take a cool dip, but it's not without its risks. After heavy rains, the water level can rise quickly, turning the Maggia into a torrential river. The danger is often underestimated and has cost several unsuspecting bathers their lives. But luckily, the water's elemental power is generally displayed in other ways. Over millennia, the river has ground and polished the rocks along its course. This decorative Maggia gneiss is also quarried, ending up decorating terraces and floors around the world. Back to Lake Maggiore. Several weeks have passed. The alluvial forests and bogs of the Bolle di Magadino are now resplendent with new color. A reunion with the great crested grebes. Their eggs have meanwhile hatched. The chicks are called pulli. A pair of adults can hatch from 2 to 6 young. Only one of this pair's chicks has survived. Many pulli fall prey to predatory fish or birds. The parents supply a constant stream of small fish. As with all young, this little grebe's appetite is simply insatiable. Getting the feeding skill right is quite tricky. Fish like this are very slippery. Luckily, they get plenty of practice. For the first few weeks, the young are mostly carried on their parents' backs. The grebe is a precocial bird, so it can swim immediately after hatching. Apart from fish, the parents also feed their offspring feathers. These line their stomachs to protect them from sharp fish bones. The adult birds pluck their own feathers for this purpose. The chicks can dive very early on too. Despite these little forays into independence, life is far more comfortable with mother. Even though the climb can be quite a business. The Bolle di Magadino marshes are not just ideal breeding grounds for birds, but also for gnats and flies. A paradise for barn swallows. They come here solely to hunt. Their nests are usually sited near humans. In earlier days, they often built their nests in barns, hence their name. They truly are the king of the skies. Here, a few kilometers from lively Locarno, one could fancy oneself in another world. Wild natural landscapes not far from tourist promenades, rugged mountains next to lovely lakes. These juxtapositions are what makes Ticino what it is, the canton of contrasts.